She was beautiful, brilliant, and heartbroken. He said it was over. She said she couldn't live without him. But in the end, he was the one who didn't survive. 6 bullets, 1 911 call, and a story she rehearsed like a script. You've heard breakups, but not like this.
He picked me up and carried me from the bedroom out of the condo and threw me on the doorstep.
On episode 7, Suada's Crime Files returns with a story of heartbreak, obsession, and a deadly final goodbye.
Campbell County 911. Ma'am, I killed my boyfriend in self-defense. Okay, where are you at? I'm at 12 Meadow Lane, Highland Heights, Kentucky. 41076. Hey, 12 Meadow Lane, are you in a house or an apartment there? It's an apartment. It's apartment suite 10. Is it Meadow, anything else? Meadow View or something? No, it's 12 Meadow Lane. My children. Okay. Tell me again what unit you're in. It's not showing on my computer.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Suada's Crime Files. I'm your host, Suada Canzanire. Whether you're tuning in for the first time or you've been following these cases with us from day one, I'm so grateful to have you here. Today we're diving into a case that rocked the courtroom and stunned the public. A story of romance, obsession, and calculated murder. It's the kind of case that makes you ask, how far would someone go to keep control? This is the story of a young woman who claimed to be a victim. But behind her tears was a terrifying truth. What began as love ended in 6 bullets, and a haunting interrogation that the internet would never forget. Joining me in just a bit will be my friend and returning guest Nicole. And together, we'll break down the lies, the red flags, and the justice that followed. But first, let me tell you the story of Shayna Hubers. She was young, smart, driven, a straight-A student with a promising future and a head full of dreams. Shayna Michelle Hubers wasn't the type of woman you'd expect to make headlines for murder. But on the night of October 12, 2012, everything changed. Her name would be forever linked to the man she claimed to love and the man she shot 6 times in cold blood. His name, Ryan Poston, a successful 29-year-old attorney from Highland Heights, Kentucky. Charming, ambitious, and from a well-regarded family, Ryan had a bright future ahead of him. But behind closed doors, his relationship with Shayna had spiraled into a toxic cycle of breakups, reconciliations, and emotional manipulation. They met in 2011 through Facebook. She was 19 and in college. He was nearly a decade older, already practicing law. At first, their relationship seemed promising, but it quickly unraveled. Shayna was controlling, jealous, obsessed. Friends of Ryan would later say she flooded him with texts, hundreds in a day. She would show up uninvited, refuse to leave his home. Her behavior went from clingy to frightening. And yet, like many victims of emotional abuse, Ryan tried to manage the situation without confrontation. Until that October evening, when Shayna pulled the trigger. She called 911 after the shooting, claiming self-defense. Said Ryan had been abusive, that he had thrown her against furniture, that she feared for her life. But something was off. During her police interrogation, recorded just hours after the murder, Shayna laughed. She sang. She twirled in her chair. She told the officers Ryan was vain, that he had wanted a nose job. She casually remarked, "I gave him the nose job he always wanted," referencing the bullet that struck his face. It wasn't grief. It wasn't fear. It was chilling. And as detectives peeled back the layers, the truth began to unfold. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was premeditated. Ryan had made plans to meet another woman that night. Miss Ohio, no less. Shayna found out. She couldn't handle the rejection. She went to his condo, and when he tried to end things once and for all, she executed him. 6 bullets. This is the story of how obsession turns deadly. Of how love, twisted by control, becomes lethal, and of a courtroom drama that gripped the nation. This is the Shayna Hubers case, and it's just the beginning. Welcome back, listeners! This is Suada's Crime Files, and today we're unraveling one of the most disturbing modern-day stories of obsession, emotional manipulation, and ultimately cold-blooded murder. I'm here with my good friend and returning guest, Nicole. Nicole, always a pleasure to have you with me.
Thank you, Suada. This case really hit me. It's unsettling because on the surface, it looks like a normal relationship until you start peeling back the layers.
Right? At first glance, it's a story about a young couple in love, or at least one of them believed it was love. Shayna Hubers was 19 when she met 28-year-old Ryan Poston. She was a bright college student studying psychology, attending the University of Kentucky. Ryan, he was already a lawyer, handsome, intelligent, and building his career in Cincinnati. From the outside, picture perfect. But behind closed doors, this wasn't a love story. It was a ticking time bomb.
Shayna became obsessed quickly. Friends say she fell hard for Ryan and wasn't afraid to show it, texting constantly, making surprise visits, showing up uninvited. And not just once or twice, this was relentless.
Exactly. At one point, she sent over 100 texts in a single day. That's not romance. That's a pattern of coercive control. Ryan tried to end the relationship several times. But each time he pulled back, Shayna reeled him back in with emotional manipulation. She'd cry, beg, even fake illnesses. There were moments when he genuinely feared her behavior. In fact, he told close friends she reminded him of the character from Fatal Attraction.
And here's what's really tragic. People around Ryan noticed the red flags. His family urged him to walk away. His co-workers picked up on the anxiety. But it's easier said than done, especially when the other person makes you feel guilty every time you try to leave.
Absolutely. Shayna didn't just want to be with Ryan. She wanted to possess him. When she sensed she was losing that grip, especially after finding out he was planning a date with Miss Ohio, her desperation turned dangerous.
What is your view on the pornography industry?
My personal view of pornography is that it makes me a little uncomfortable. I understand everyone has their own right to go on their own career path, but I wish it was a little bit more censored to those who shouldn't be viewing it.
Do you believe marijuana should be legalized?
Well, I feel everyone has a different opinion when it comes to legalizing marijuana in the United States. I feel that it has definite good qualities, and I feel that people can abuse it at the same time. I'm a little neutral on it. I'm pro if it's going to help our economy, but I am against it if people are going to continue to abuse it.
Miss USA 2012, live, Las Vegas, June 3rd.
Listeners, what we're about to walk into next is one of the most shocking crimes ever recorded in the Cincinnati suburbs. It's the kind of thing that makes you rethink how well you can truly know someone. Because when the relationship finally shattered, the fallout was deadly.
When we return, we'll walk you through the chilling events of October 12th, 2012, the night Ryan Poston's life came to a tragic and violent end.
Before we dive into what happened on the night of October 12th, 2012, it's important to know the two people at the center of this tragedy. Not just their names, but who they really were. Because behind every headline, every court case, there are real lives, real families.
That's right. Let's start with Ryan Poston. Ryan was born December 30th, 1982, in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, the oldest of 4 children. He came from a well-known, respected family. His father, a successful businessman. His mother, Lisa Carter, worked in education. His parents divorced when he was young, but they remained closely involved in his life.
And Ryan wasn't just intelligent, he was exceptional. He attended Blessed Sacrament School in Fort Mitchell, the International School Manila in the Philippines, and the International School of Geneva in Switzerland during high school. Later, he earned a political science degree from Indiana University, followed by a law degree from Northern Kentucky University's Chase College of Law. He had ambition, but he also had charm. Friends and colleagues describe him as magnetic, someone with a sharp sense of humor and a huge heart.
He had a great smile, was passionate about justice, and he was incredibly close to his family. That's what makes this story even more painful. Ryan wasn't just a statistic. He was a brother, a son, a friend, and he had so much ahead of him.
Now let's talk about Shayna Hubers. Shayna was born April 8, 1991, and raised in Lexington, Kentucky. Only child. Her mother, Shayna Hubers, was a schoolteacher and very active in her daughter's academic life. By all accounts, Shayna was a bright, high-achieving student. She graduated from high school with honors and went on to earn a psychology degree from the University of Kentucky.
She had plans for graduate school, possibly even a PhD in clinical psychology. On paper, she looked like she had it all together. Ambitious, well-spoken, confident. But those close to her say she had a deeply obsessive streak, one that only intensified after she met Ryan.
Right, she was described as controlling and jealous. Some friends said she showed signs of narcissism and emotional instability, red flags that were brushed aside. She clung to Ryan as if her life depended on it, and when that grip started to slip, well, we know now what happened.
Two very different upbringings, two different paths, but they collided in one of the most toxic and ultimately tragic relationships we've covered yet. And what's chilling is that no one, not even Ryan, fully grasped the danger he was in.
Coming up, we'll walk through the events of that final day. A breakup that turned into a murder scene, and a young man whose promising future was violently stolen.
Hubers talked about one incident where she heard Poston was spreading rumors about her, so she went to his house.
I walked in and confronted him about it, and we got in a big fight. He picked me up and carried me from the bedroom out of the condo and threw me on the doorstep. He began beating my body with the door over and over and over.
What door?
The door to the front of the house, the door to the front of the condo. He wouldn't let me grab my things, but he instead picked them up and threw them at me out the door.
They met on Facebook, not at a bar, not at school, but through the modern digital path so many of us use today to make connections. Shayna Hubers was friends with Carissa Carlisle, Ryan Poston's step-cousin. It was Carissa who introduced them, digitally at least, and soon enough, Shayna and Ryan began exchanging messages. What started out as casual online chatter turned into something more.
At first glance, they seemed like a decent match. Shayna was a psychology student with a high GPA and clear goals. Ryan, a newly minted attorney with sharp looks and ambition. But once they began dating in early 2011, things quickly turned intense, and not in a healthy way.
Friends and family began to notice red flags almost immediately. Ryan confided in others that he felt suffocated. Shayna, according to messages later recovered, was obsessively texting him, dozens of messages in a single day, even when he wouldn't respond. If he didn't reply quickly, she'd spiral. If he talked about ending the relationship, she'd panic.
At one point, Ryan reportedly told a friend, "She's like a black cloud. Every time I try to break it off, she cries or threatens something dramatic." He was trying to get out, but Shayna wouldn't let go.
And it wasn't just emotional manipulation. She once sent Ryan a message saying she believed he had narcissistic personality disorder and that she was the only one who could help him. She framed herself as his savior, even while making him feel like a prisoner.
Still, the relationship limped along. On again, off again. Breakup, reconciliation, repeat. Ryan wanted out, but he didn't know how to escape without setting Shayna off. By the fall of 2012, things had grown increasingly tense.
Then came the fateful day, October 12, 2012. According to Shayna's own statement later, she drove to Ryan's Highland Heights condo that afternoon. Ryan, she claimed, was trying once again to break up with her, for good this time. He had a date lined up that evening with a Miss Ohio pageant contestant. That enraged her.
24-year-old Audrey Bolte is waiting. Any minute now, a man is supposed to arrive. Were you excited to meet him?
Yes, of course. I was very much looking forward to it.
Audrey isn't just your average, beautiful blonde on a blind date.
Audrey Bolte, you are Miss Ohio.
She's Miss Ohio 2012. But tonight, Miss Ohio is hoping to meet Mr. Right.
I had ended a serious relationship about a month prior, so it was kind of like me getting back out to the social world.
They had met on Facebook through mutual friends. They talked about possibly meeting at Ryan's condo, but decide to rendezvous at the bar. One small change in the plans changes the course of the entire night.
Who wouldn't be looking forward to meet a lawyer from Cincinnati who's attractive, funny, and witty? I mean, who wouldn't be excited to?
And what happened next would shock even seasoned investigators.
Shayna called 911 just before 9 p.m., calm, cold. She told the dispatcher, I killed my boyfriend in self-defense. He was throwing me around the room. Police rushed to the scene and found Ryan Poston dead, shot 6 times. His body slumped in a chair at his kitchen table.
6 bullets, 2 in the head, 1 to the back, a cluster to the torso. It didn't scream self-defense, it screamed overkill.
And the chilling part? In that initial 911 call, she showed no panic, no regret, just calm explanation, like she had rehearsed it.
This wasn't just a murder. It was a psychological unraveling, one fueled by obsession, rejection, and something darker. Next, we'll walk you through the police interrogation and the jaw-dropping statements Shayna made while in custody.
He was laying with his face on the table, like twitching. And so I knew he was going to die a very slow and painful death. I knew he was already, it was in the next 20 seconds. The next few minutes, I knew he was going to be dead. And he was in a lot of pain, twitching, he was moaning. But he was ultimately dead. And so I thought him enough time to kill him so that he wouldn't suffer. Oh no, he would have died. He was already dying. He was dying. But I just walked around the table and shot him where I knew he would die immediately. Help, please. Days. That I couldn't stand to watch him twitch and he was going to die or have a completely different state. Very vain. One of our last conversations we had that was good was that he wants my best friend at the dentist to do his veneers and wants to get a nose job. Just that kind of person. And I shot him right here. I gave him his nose job. He wanted a broken. I'm not your murderer. No, not something that you see on. I don't know if anyone will ever want to marry me if they know that I killed a boyfriend and not funny.
When police arrived at Ryan Poston's condo that night, they weren't met with the chaos of an active crime scene. There was no suspect to hunt down. No mystery to unravel, at least not yet. Shayna was waiting for them, composed, cooperative. She led them straight to Ryan's body and, without hesitation, confessed to pulling the trigger. But what would unfold over the next few hours inside that interrogation room would leave even seasoned detectives shaken.
She was placed in a small grey room inside the Highland Heights Police Department. No handcuffs, no hysteria, just Shayna, sitting in a chair waiting. Officers noted how strangely calm she was, almost too calm, as if she'd been preparing for this moment.
Detectives asked her to walk them through what happened. Shayna recounted that Ryan had been physically abusive. She claimed that during an argument he grabbed her violently, shoved her against furniture, and that she feared for her life. She said she managed to grab a gun from the table and fired in self-defense, but her story started to fracture almost immediately.
She said she shot him once, and then kept shooting to stop the twitching. Her exact words, "I gave him the nose job he always wanted." She laughed when she said it. That moment, that laugh, would later go viral. People couldn't believe what they were hearing.
And she didn't stop there. In fact, the more time passed, the more she talked. With no lawyer present, Shayna rambled for hours. She paced. She twirled her hair. At one point, she began singing to herself, dancing. She performed an eerie, out-of-place twirl and said, "I did it. Yes, I did it. I can't believe I did it." It was chilling.
And through it all, the facts weren't aligning. Ryan's body showed no signs of physical struggle. There were no bruises, no defensive wounds. The scene was pristine. Ryan was seated at the table when he was shot, first in the head, execution style. And yet Shayna insisted this was an act of self-preservation.
But here's the kicker. She fired 6 times. 2 shots to the face, then more to the body. She even admitted to shooting him again after he was already down. That's not panic, that's control. And detectives were starting to realize it.
The more she talked, the deeper the hole she dug. She even mused aloud about whether Ryan's family would be upset, and whether the prison had good facilities for someone like her. She was already framing herself as the victim, the misunderstood woman behind bars for something she had to do.
Authorities began to suspect what would later become central to the prosecution's case. This wasn't spontaneous. It was calculated, and it was driven by obsession, jealousy, and rejection.
Her behavior in that room gave them more insight into her psyche than any forensics ever could. Shayna Hubers wasn't distraught. She was performing, and the show had just begun.
Next, we look at how the prosecution built their case, what they uncovered, the expert testimonies, and the shocking courtroom drama that would make national headlines. You don't want to miss what comes next. The prosecution knew from the very beginning that this case wasn't going to be about who did it. Shayna Hubers had already admitted to pulling the trigger. This was about the why. Was this self-defense or premeditated murder?
And the evidence kept pointing in one direction. Prosecutors focused on Shayna's behavior both before and after Ryan's death. This wasn't a woman caught in a split-second fight for her life. This was a woman whose actions revealed obsession, control, and an inability to let go.
Let's rewind to the months leading up to the shooting. Ryan Poston had tried to end the relationship several times. He confided in friends that Shayna had become controlling, emotionally erratic. At one point, he texted a friend saying, "This is getting to be restraining order level crazy." And yet, every time he tried to distance himself, Shayna would reappear, begging, apologizing, latching on.
Shayna sent hundreds of texts. Some were sweet, some pleading, others deeply manipulative. She once messaged, "If you don't want to be with me, I'll kill myself." Prosecutors used these messages to show a pattern. This wasn't love, it was psychological warfare.
Then came the forensic evidence. The medical examiner testified that Ryan had been sitting down when the first shot entered his forehead. The angle of the bullets and the pattern of wounds proved he hadn't lunged or attacked. He wasn't charging at Shayna. He was seated, calm, vulnerable.
And yet she kept firing. 6 bullets total, 1 to the head, 1 to the chest, more to his arms and torso. Prosecutors argued that Shayna paused between shots, possibly left the room, then returned to finish the job. Her own words in the interrogation, "I shot him again to stop the twitching," would come back to haunt her.
But there was another twist. Just hours before the murder, Ryan had a date scheduled with Miss Ohio 2012. That's right, he was finally moving on. Shayna found out, and prosecutors believe that discovery was the breaking point.
That date never happened. Instead, Ryan ended up in a body bag and Shayna in handcuffs.
Her defense team leaned heavily on claims of emotional abuse. They painted a picture of a troubled woman pushed to the edge, but the texts, the timeline, the interrogation footage, they told another story, a calculated one.
When I first shot him, he let out a really loud noise that sounded like an animal. It was a very animalistic noise. It scared me. It freaked me out.
And because you didn't want to watch him die, you shot him more times to the point where you knew he was dead.
I said those things.
In this interrogation tape, she is seen actually singing about the killing.
I did. Yes, I did. I can't believe I did that.
And listen to what she tells a police officer about shooting him in the face.
I gave him his nose job. He wanted.
Hubers
Let's not forget, after the shooting, she didn't call for help. She called 911, yes, but calmly, and without even attempting CPR. No panic, no tears, just a cool retelling of what she did and why.
The jury watched it all unfold. The smirks, the twirls, the singing in the interrogation room. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. Next, we dive into the media and public reaction to this senseless execution that shocked the nation.
This woman's on trial for murder. Prosecutors say it was a jealous rage. She says she shot in self-defense. As Diane McInerney reports, the courtroom demeanor of Shayna Hubers and the defense she's offering is sparking comparisons to convicted killer Jodi Arias.
Detectives say Hubers told them she then shot Poston several more times to stop him from twitching.
It wasn't a surprise. It's their version. Our version will be different. I really don't want to pre-try this case to the media, so we'll just wait until we get to court.
When the Shayna Hubers case hit the media, it was like a lightning strike. It had everything that fuels true crime headlines. A beautiful young couple, jealousy, betrayal, a murder committed in the supposed heat of passion, and a camera-ready suspect who couldn't stop talking.
And once that police interrogation footage was released to the public, it went viral. Millions of people watched Shayna sing, twirl, and brag about shooting her boyfriend 6 times. She claimed she gave him the nose job he always wanted. It was like watching a Lifetime movie play out in real time, except it was real, too real.
Suddenly, everyone had an opinion. She was trending on Twitter. Her interrogation became fodder for YouTube breakdowns and psychology channels. Reddit threads dissected her every word and gesture. Some called her a cold-blooded killer. Others questioned her mental state.
She became the face of toxic relationships, like some twisted poster child for obsession gone too far, and the public, especially women, were sharply divided. Some sympathised with her, saying she had been emotionally abused. Others, rightfully, condemned her actions, pointing to the overwhelming evidence and her lack of remorse.
Even TV networks jumped in. True crime shows, talk shows, morning news specials, everyone wanted a piece of the Shayna Hubers story. The phrase "she danced in the interrogation room" became a media hook, repeated like a chorus in every segment.
And then came the public fascination with Ryan Poston. He was young, handsome, successful, a rising attorney with a promising future. He was just 29 years old. His family shared photos, stories, and memories that painted a heartbreaking portrait of the life that was stolen.
Media outlets showed pictures of Ryan smiling with friends, playing with nieces and nephews, and spending time with his close-knit family. And each image reminded the public that this wasn't just some sensational story. This was a tragedy. A man was dead.
I remember during this retrial, every day there were reporters outside the courthouse. Cameras flashing, microphones thrust in every direction. Even Shayna's courtroom outfits became headline material. It was bizarre.
Bizarre, but sadly, not surprising. America has always had a complicated relationship with women who kill, especially when they're young and attractive. Some call them monsters, others call them misunderstood, and the media knows how to exploit both sides.
What made this case so captivating wasn't just the crime itself, it was the disconnect. The performance, the way Shayna seemed to believe she could charm her way out of murder, and the public was hypnotized by the audacity.
And what we're left with is a case that raised more questions than answers. About obsession, about justice, and about how the media shapes public perception, sometimes long before a jury has a chance to weigh in. Next, we'll go behind the scenes of the legal strategy, how prosecutors approached this rare and twisted case, and why it took 2 trials to get a final verdict. The courtroom became the battleground for truth and performance. And from the beginning, the prosecution had a straightforward goal: prove that Shayna Hubers did not act in self-defense. That this wasn't a heat-of-the-moment tragedy, but a calculated act of murder.
And that goal shaped every aspect of their case. The prosecution leaned heavily on the physical evidence, the number of gunshots, Ryan's position, and the sequence of the shots. They argued that this wasn't just excessive force, it was intentional overkill.
6 shots, that was key. 1 or 2 might have supported a self-defense claim, but 6? With time between some of them? That painted a very different picture. They brought in forensic experts to show how the wounds aligned with Ryan being seated, possibly even turned away.
The prosecutors also used Shayna's own words against her. That bizarre police interview, where she rambled, joked, even sang. They played it for the jury in full. And when she said she gave him the nose job he always wanted, you could feel the room tense up.
Her behavior was their best witness. The footage wasn't just chilling, it was damning. The prosecution didn't need to embellish anything. Shayna had already put on a performance that prosecutors framed as narcissism, not trauma. In 2015, Shayna Hubers was found guilty of murdering Ryan Poston. The sentence? 40 years in prison. Justice, it seemed, had been served.
Until it wasn't. Just months later, Shayna's conviction was thrown out. Not because of the evidence, not because of a technicality in the trial's proceedings, but because of a juror.
It turned out one of the jurors had a felony conviction. And in Kentucky, that's a deal breaker. State law strictly prohibits convicted felons from serving on juries. The oversight forced the court to toss the verdict out and grant Shayna a brand new trial.
It was a shocking turn. Ryan's family was forced to endure it all over again. The testimony, the photos, the trauma. And Shayna, she had another shot to rewrite the narrative.
So in 2018, Shayna Hubers found herself once again in court. this time facing the same charges, but perhaps hoping for a different outcome. The second trial was, in many ways, a replay of the first, but with the stakes even higher. Prosecutors doubled down on their theory of premeditation. They painted a picture of a woman so obsessed, so unwilling to be rejected, that she turned to murder.
They brought back the same chilling interrogation footage, Shayna dancing, singing, twirling, asking officers if she was pretty enough to be on national television. And they replayed her own words, how she shot Ryan again to stop the twitching.
This wasn't just about the crime. It was about character, intent, and the jury was watching every move. The prosecution brought in Ryan's friends and family again, recounting Ryan's fears in the weeks leading up to his death. The thousands of texts from Shayna, her manipulative behavior, her refusal to let go.
Unlike in her first trial, Shayna decided to take the stand this time. Her defense team worked even harder to present her as a victim of emotional abuse, that she feared for her life, that she was a battered woman who snapped. They described a toxic relationship, painted Ryan as controlling, dismissive.
To support that, they brought in psychologists. Testimony spoke of Shayna's alleged mental health struggles, her fragile self-esteem, and how she'd been gaslit and degraded in the relationship. They tried to make Ryan's controlling behavior the focus, but the evidence didn't hold.
And it didn't help that Shayna kept changing her story. In court, her version of what happened evolved again. From claiming self-defense to later saying she was traumatized and couldn't remember. Jurors picked up on the inconsistencies. Her defense team stated she killed him not in self-defense, as she previously claimed, but rather under extreme emotional disturbance, which in Kentucky is equivalent to manslaughter. So clearly the defense was seeking a lighter sentence. Shayna broke down multiple times, but the prosecution held their ground.
The moment of truth came quickly. After 5 hours of deliberation, the jury returned. And this time, they didn't just find her guilty. They sentenced her to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 20 years, which is a harsher sentence than her previous 40-year sentence.
Some called it justice. Others wondered if Shayna had truly understood what she had done, or if her obsession had morphed into something she could no longer control. She will be eligible for parole in 2032, which is crazy if you ask me. Yes, you heard it right. Shayna Hubers could be a free woman comes 2032.
Next, we explore the psychology of obsession. What makes someone cross that invisible line from love into control, fixation, and eventually violence? And were there signs, red flags, that everyone missed? When you examine a case like this, where a young woman kills her boyfriend in cold blood, your instinct is to ask why. What pushes someone from clingy to criminal, from love to lethal?
Obsession, but not the kind that looks romantic in a movie. This was darker, controlling, possessive. Shayna Hubers wasn't just afraid of losing Ryan Poston. She was terrified of losing her version of him, the role he played in the story she had scripted in her head.
And when he tried to step out of that role, the story unraveled. Let's not forget, she texted him over 1,000 times in just a few days. She logged into his Facebook. She emailed his friends. She showed up at his condo uninvited more than once.
Right. The police would later describe it as a campaign of harassment, but to Shayna, it was just persistence. She thought if she pushed hard enough, she could bend reality to her will. It was emotional warfare, and Ryan was exhausted.
But what's more disturbing than the obsessive buildup is the aftermath. After Shayna shot Ryan 6 times, she called 911. Her voice was flat, rehearsed, and within hours of being brought in, the footage from her police interrogation took an even more unsettling turn.
She danced, she spun in circles, she sang. One moment, she was reenacting the shooting with theatrical hand gestures, and the next, humming a song lyric. I'm not crazy, I'm just a little unwell.
There were no tears, no remorse, no real connection to the horror of what she'd done. When she looked around that interrogation room, she didn't see a murder suspect. She still thought she was the victim.
And later, in a jail interview, she was asked directly if she felt remorse. Her response? I'm not here to talk about that. Cold, calculated, as if she had rehearsed that line too.
Have you ever had any moments of remorse or the sense of apology just to Ryan Poston's family? Not going into specifics.
I'm not here to talk about any of that. I'm here to talk about another issue at hand.
For many experts, watching the case unfold, it screamed of a personality disorder. borderline, narcissistic, possibly both. But even those labels, those diagnoses, can't fully explain the complete emotional detachment she displayed. The ego, the entitlement.
She believed Ryan was hers, that he belonged to her, and if she couldn't have him, no one could. In her mind, killing him wasn't the end of the relationship. It was her way of making it permanent, of winning.
And what haunts me the most is that she didn't seem haunted at all. She wanted to control the narrative, just like she tried to control Ryan.
Sometimes the most terrifying part of a case like this is what the killer doesn't say, what they don't feel.
And the silence from her, where remorse should have lived, that silence was deafening. As we close today's episode, we're left sitting with a story that's unsettling, because it didn't have to end this way. Ryan Poston had so much ahead of him. A successful attorney, a son, a brother, a friend. And Shayna Hubers, for all her intelligence and talent, chose manipulation and violence over walking away.
And it's easy to talk about this case in terms of legal strategies or psychology, but at its core, it was about control, about a person who couldn't handle rejection. Shayna was given every opportunity to step away, but instead, she clung tighter.
She didn't just want Ryan's love. She wanted his life, his time, his attention, his future. And when she felt that slipping through her fingers, she took it all away.
And this is where we turn from reporting to warning. Because Shayna showed signs, so many signs. The obsessive texting, the stalking behaviour, the inability to accept boundaries, and yet those red flags are often ignored because they're wrapped in charm or framed as just love.
Obsessive love isn't love. Possessiveness isn't passion. Emotional manipulation isn't romance. And no one should feel trapped in a relationship where saying goodbye feels dangerous.
If you're listening and you've ever felt like someone was slowly tightening their grip on your life, listen to that feeling. Trust it. Speak to someone. Document what's happening. And if you're the friend watching from the outside, don't stay silent.
Ryan Poston's story reminds us that danger doesn't always look like a stranger in the dark. Sometimes it looks like someone smiling across the table. Someone who says they love you, while quietly writing your ending.
Our hearts go out to Ryan's family, to everyone who loved him. His life mattered, his story matters, and maybe, by telling it, we help someone else rewrite theirs before it's too late.
We'll leave you with this. If someone makes you feel unsafe, emotionally, mentally, or physically, you don't owe them silence. You owe yourself freedom. And that wraps up today's episode of Suada's Crime Files. A massive thank you to my friend Nicole for joining me and walking through the complexities of this deeply unsettling case. Shayna Hubers' story isn't just about one act of violence. It's about control, obsession, and the warning signs we often ignore until it's too late. And a massive thank you to you, my listeners. Whether you're listening to this on Spotify or watching on YouTube, thank you.
Always grateful to be part of these conversations, Suada. And hopefully, shedding light on these stories helps others see the red flags when they matter most.
Exactly. If today's episode left you thinking or helped you understand something new, share it with someone you care about. Leave us a review on Spotify. It helps more people find us and join these important conversations. Don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe, comment, share. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode. In next episode of Suada's Crime Files, we turn our focus to a heartbreaking case out of Phoenix, Arizona. One that begins with an ordinary day on a popular hiking trail and ends in unimaginable tragedy. You won't want to miss it. Until then, take care of yourselves and take care of each other.